What's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to be talking about what to do when you are in a sales slump and how to get out of that thing as quickly as possible. Because if you have ever felt like for weeks or for months that you were just falling flat on your face on sales calls, like you can't close the cupboard door, it is a horrible, horrible feeling. But the good thing is you're not alone. We've all been there. I know that I have. And if you're new here, my name is Dan Crowley. I'm one of the co-founders at Ascension and ListKit, where our teams do over $1 million per month combined. I've taken thousands of sales calls, built killer sales teams, and helped clients go from 0 to 6 figures per month with the strategies that I'm about to share today. And like I said, today we're going to be breaking down what to do when you're in a sales slump. So first point is, remember, you are capable. To be in a slump implies that you were once closing deals consistently, that you were once hot. If you never have achieved that, then it's probably not a slump. You're probably just not good at sales. But this is for the people that feel like something changed and they're going crazy trying to identify what that is. So just for your own sanity, start with a quick self-assessment. Like I said, being in a slump suggests that you weren't at some point. And most of the time, not much has actually changed. But like I said, for sanity, let's just confirm that first. And what I'm telling you guys here is the same stuff I've told clients like Eamon to help them scale from 2K a month to 132K per month. So let's do the same for you here. Starting with the basics, just ask yourself, are you actually doing the bare minimum to have some sort of quality control over your sales process? Are you reviewing your sales calls? Are you falling back on your process? Do you have a process? Has anything actually changed? Are you getting leads from a new channel? Did you change your offer? If these fundamentals haven't shifted in a meaningful way, just don't mess with them. You'll probably just make it worse. So next thing, just to go even a little bit deeper, just to check one more time and make sure that something really hasn't changed. Take 10 to 20 calls from when things were working. Then take 10 to 20 call transcripts from your slump and just utilize AI to do deep research. It is so much less time intensive than it used to be. Trust me. So ask it, hey, here's 20 transcripts of October when I was crushing. Here's 20 sales transcripts with November and I can't close anything right now. Please tell me, is there any differences that you can identify in terms of types of prospects I'm talking to, my approach and discovery, my pitch, common concerns coming into the call for the prospects? Like, is the market worried about something different? How am I addressing these concerns? What are the most common objections after they have heard about my service? How am I dealing with them then? How am I dealing with them now? What is my resolution rate with each of one of these objections? Like, am I solving the price objection I'm getting at a high rate? Cool, don't need to worry about it. Am I solving the partner objection to the timing objection at a high rate? Just have it rank it for you, like low, medium, high in terms of resolution rate. I do this stuff all the time. Typically, if you're using something like Fireflies or Fathom, you can connect those to one of the LLMs. Like personally, I use Fireflies and Claude and just connect those two. So I can literally just ask it to do all this for me as opposed to having to go and manually grab the transcripts. So finally, if everything on the call seems pretty similar, I can't identify too many things that are different, just go to a couple deals that you did close in your CRM and also just look at the follow-up nature. Sometimes just like you forget how much work goes into closing that client and you look back and you're like, well, there's a 20 email thread back and forth. It wasn't necessarily easy. And just compare that to how you're following up with leads now. Has anything actually changed? That's like the last question I want you to ask. Not something minor like a tweak here, a tweak there, but like something that would prevent somebody from closing. If not, trust me, just move on. And then what you need to do is just reboot your mindset with your best calls. Like you remember when you were a kid and you were playing video games and like for whatever reason, the controller wasn't working and you would just unplug it and just blow in the thing and then plug it back in. And for whatever reason, it would work and it just didn't make any sense. Like, yeah, sometimes shit just needs to be unplugged and plugged back in. So the way I like to do that with sales specifically is just find a couple call recordings and like just stop being so analytical because we already did the analytical stuff up top. Just listen to the call recordings where I had a good close. And I'm not even looking at it through like an analytical lens. Like I'm not taking notes on this. I'm not stopping it and pausing it there or replaying it. I'm listening to it literally like a podcast at the gym, on a walk. This is something I actually got from Cole Gordon. And you'll start to hear what you sounded like when you weren't so jaded, when you were feeling a little bit better, when you had a little bit more confidence. And the more that you listen to that, you're like, okay, that's one thing I can change. My head is probably filled with trash at this point. You're also going to realize that you probably didn't even sound that good. Like you probably grabbing that call recording of like your best call, you thought you were going to sound like prime Alex Hormozi, prime Jordan Belfort, whoever you look up to. And you're going to realize like, oh, I kind of fucked up here. That wasn't super smooth. I'm talking too much here, but you still close the deal, which is going to be a very, very important reminder that this is not an impossible task. You did it before. You're the same person. It probably wasn't even that perfect when you did it. Still close the deal. So next point, we rebooted the mindset. Literally just relax. For a second, like calm down. I've seen some people who come to like one-on-ones, especially when a rep is underperforming and they're like freaking out. I'm like, dude, you just gotta chill. Cause like the energy you're giving off, like how like aggressive, finicky, like nobody's gonna want to buy from you. Just like relax. Okay. And like I said earlier, like I have been there before feeling like I need to close the next deal or I'm gonna lose my shit. But here's the harsh truth. The longer your mindset stays that way, the longer the slump will go on. What we resist will persist. That's just like one of these weird truths of the universe, right? So like if I'm just afraid that I'm going to continue this slump for another couple of weeks and that the revenue is going to continue to go down, guess what's going to happen? Revenue is going to go down. The slump will continue for a couple more weeks. So just relax, right? Take a deep breath and just stop obsessing over the outcome specifically, because you're probably looking at the slump like, damn, I haven't closed any deals recently. My close rate's dropping. The revenue's dropping. You literally just have to, and I know it's easier said than done, but this is why reminders like this are important. You got to stop white knuckling the outcome of every single call. Actually, just stop caring about the outcome altogether. I think if you just go back to basics and just focus on the inputs, right? Focus on the work that goes into just getting good at sales whenever, like the stuff up here that I talked about, literally just like the basics, just go back to that and don't even look at your close rate for a couple weeks. Just stop obsessing over the revenue. Like if you're a very like month to month person, zoom out a little bit and realize that like the biggest, best businesses in the world, they're thinking year over year. They're thinking quarter over quarter. You've probably been in a slump for a couple weeks, maybe a month. Like just zoom out a little bit, take a deep breath and just actually don't look at the numbers. Like that's probably going to be best for your sanity. Just focus on the process. Like I said, not the pressure, and stop needing the sale, because prospects will smell that commission breath. I've been on the other end of this where somebody's selling to me and I'm like, dude, this person's just like some of the stuff, like I'm throwing like a valid objection at them and they're not even making sense. I'm asking for things that I literally don't think they could do. And he's like, yeah, we can absolutely help for that. And it's like, all right, that stuff doesn't work. People have better intuition than that. And whoever needs the most typically gets the least. That's another weird thing about this universe. Like the people who have the most money, it's easiest for them to acquire more money. Like they don't need it, but they're going to get the most of it. So instead, just focus on the process and focus on helping people, because in sales, money is going to be the byproduct of helping people. I think with most things, if you just do it for the right reason, money's almost always going to be a byproduct as opposed to the main focus. Super random tangent, but there's this football coach, James Franklin, who got fired from Penn State. He had a buyout for like $100 million. So he gets fired and he gets paid like $100 million. And everybody's like, dude, why is he looking for another job? Like if I had $100 million, I would just chill out. I'm on a Mai Tai. I'm on a beach sipping a Mai Tai. Like I'm good to go. But you don't get to that point where you have a high level position like that, where you can get fired and make $100 million just by having the mindset of, oh, let me just chill out for a while, or let's let money be the main thing. Like, no, this guy's fucking obsessed with football. That's why he gets paid that type of money. That's why he got that good in the first place, right? So in sales, the thing that you need to be focused on is really just helping people. And here's what I mean by that. You're going to help these guys by making them make the decision that is best for their business, whether that is working with you or not. Like you need to actually have that impartiality just like singed into your brain. Now, what most people need, most people that book a sales call, is to take action to fix their problems, whether that's with you or somebody else. They wouldn't have hopped on the call if they didn't have a problem. Yet, most prospects will just want to continue on as is. That's why they're looking to go from where they're at now to their goal. They're looking to go from point A to point B, but they haven't gone there yet. If they could have on their own, they probably would have just done it. If they were the person that was capable of making that transformation on their own or getting the help that they need, they usually would have already done it by the time they arrive on the sales call. So prospects just want to continue on as is. Inaction is almost always going to be your biggest competitor. It's not the guy that you think it is. It's literally just them sitting on their thumb and doing nothing, because that's what they have been doing for the most part up to this point. And it's also the worst option for the vast majority of people. So you need these people to take action. That is how you help them. That is what you focus on. Money will be the byproduct. Quick pause in action here. If you're an agency owner that's under 30K a month, stuck in a sales slump, I've got something for you. Client Ascension has helped countless businesses like yours reach your goal with a proven sales system that I teach in there myself. Just like my clients, Philip and Connor, who started making over 100K a month after joining the program. So click the link below to learn more about how Client Ascension can help you scale your agency. Now let's get back to the steps. So third point, take care of yourself. Literally, you can have the same process and much different results. So one of the things I noticed is a lot of times when sales reps are in a slump, it has nothing to do with a process change. It's usually a head trash problem, a physiological problem, or something in their personal life. So here's what happens. The slump begins. Who knows? It's probably just regular variance and literally nothing has changed, but they're just freaking out because they're getting a little impatient. They're not having that year over year, quarter over quarter mindset. Then they start to spiral. They're going to try to find out what they did differently. Like they're staying up later at night. They're slamming energy drinks. They're watching our call recordings. They're going crazy because they can't find anything that's different. Because like I said, most of the time, nothing has changed. So they're skipping the gym. Like they're just following up more. Like they're like following up with dead leads that aren't going anywhere. And it's like, they're just driving themselves a little bit crazy to the point where the burnout is going to set in. And what started now as normal variance has just led them down this bad road to where they're burnt out, they're mentally fatigued. And if you've been in sales for a while, you know how important it is to feel sharp, to have the energy to do things like making an extra cold call or staying in the pocket for another 20 minutes to objection handle. and just doing it properly and slowing down the speed up at the end of those calls. Like that does take energy. I know we're sitting in an air conditioned office right now in front of a camera drinking a Diet Coke, and it's people doing physical labor would laugh, but it is literally one of the most important things in sales, just being able to like physically have the energy to do this stuff and be good every single call. So what I recommend, just start eating clean, start sweating every single day, start sleeping well, just get in a good routine for whatever that looks like for you. And I promise it will make a difference. If it's something in your personal life, you can't let that seep into your professional life. I know that's easier said than done. So you see what my primary recommendation is for that. Because a lot of times, number one, it's just an awareness problem. Like people are dealing with things, but they don't realize how it's affecting their work. And then number two, if it's not like an easy problem, everybody has their own shit that's going on. Like usually the most effective solution is just to literally take some time to deal with your problems. I've been on a call with multiple team members, and you see this down here, where they're going through something. And I could tell it, and they're trying to like put the cape on. They're trying to power through. I'm like, hey man, just take a couple days if that's all you need. Just like deal with that. That's serious, like heavy shit. That's more important than whatever we're selling here. It's just like take a little bit of time. And it sucks for me because I know that we're losing the calendar space, but I know it's a win-win at the end of the day. Like give them the time, they're going to come back better than ever. So once again, take some time for it. And even if it's just a day to actually confront and deal with those issues, great. So long as you're ready to come back on some severance shit where you have your innie or outie for anybody that's watched that show, and you're just like, all right, I've gotten to the point where I can literally just leave that at home and then lock in, even if you work from home. That's usually all you need. Now, to prevent the head trash, like I talked about earlier, a lot of it is just good inputs versus bad inputs. So I'm going to talk about this from like a founder perspective, then also from like I have sales reps on my team perspective, because we've covered physically and emotionally, like what you should be aware of, but mentally, you just need to make sure that you're consistently getting good inputs. So what is an example of bad inputs? Just dealing with customer complaints, or this one guy who's a nightmare, and then you let him go because you're like, I don't want to deal with this guy. Then he leaves a bad review, doom scrolling social media, seeing your Bitcoin's down 17% in the last month. Like those are all bad inputs. What are good inputs? Drowning yourself in customer wins, watching a couple of your old case studies, studying up on your field so you actually get interested and, start to get educated on what you're actually selling, just to build some industry acumen. Like the more that you are passionate about what you sell, even if it's something you're really not that interested in, but if you can find the nuances that light you up a little bit, great. And just listening to more recordings of your closes. Once again, like I said, it doesn't need to be super analytical. You just be listening to it as a podcast. So one of the things from a founder perspective that's tough is like you're in the trenches. You're kind of dealing with the good and the bad, and you can't avoid the good and the bad. So this is very much just like watching your old case studies, talking to good clients, spending time with happy team members more than the Debbie Downer team members. Just like you just have to consciously make an effort to just block out some time to be like, all right, I'm gonna focus on the good. Now, if you have sales reps on your team, you got to set up like a Chinese wall between like CS, who's dealing with the fires on the client side that may be happening right now, and what they see. Like you have to really just segment and make sure that, okay, if there ever is a customer problem, they're not going back to the sales rep. Like the sales rep should just be brainwashed into just being like wins. That's it. All right. So either way, important to be conscious of it. Now, this one is going to apply to more of you guys. Just quick note before we finish. If you haven't grabbed it yet, grab my full guide on how to close 40% of your cold traffic leads. Basically just a full guide on higher conversions. It breaks down everything A to Z. So you've got the process that you can get, or that you can use to get 2 record months when you're not in a slump, which we're just about to finish helping you guys get out of. So hit the link below, grab it for free, level up your sales game. Final step coming up. Point 4. Make low-hanging fruit improvements. So this is one, like you're in a slump, but like, okay, there actually are things that can be improved, because most of the time, all of us have room for improvement. Basically every single person, including myself here, does. So yeah, so we talked about letting go a little bit. We talked about having the good inputs versus bad inputs. And that could probably improve things, but like still, if you're gonna be in this like super analytical stage, you might as well just grab those low-hanging fruits. And it's usually not a giant process change. It's usually just like these small things that we're gonna talk about here. So I can't remember where I got this study. If I say where I got it, I'm probably going to misquote it. So the source is going to be trust me, bro, for right now. But it was a study on a bunch of sales teams that noticed about 9 months into a role, even high performing reps would have a dip in performance. So they'd go through this learning curve where, you're kind of in onboarding, you're learning, and then you get up to KPI and it's cool. And it's like, okay, 3-4 months in, it's like, okay, now we're really seeing like a high performer turn into a real high performer exceeding KPI. But then around 9 months, it would kind of slow down. The reason why that happened is because, one, there was just like a problem awareness gap, because the sales guy was problem aware, but the prospect was not. Because you start to assume patterns. You take hundreds of calls and you're like, okay, yep, I know exactly who this guy is. I know what problems he's dealing with. great, I've got exactly what this person needs. But the issue of thinking that way, because I've watched so many calls myself where I'm 3 minutes into a call recording and I'm like, yeah, I know exactly how this call is going to end. And guess what? I'm right. That doesn't matter though, because it's not just important that you are aware of what this person's problem with and you can prescribe them a good solution, but the prospect also has to be aware. So that's where like the little song and dance comes in with just asking people questions in discovery. Even though if you're playing dumb because you already know, it's important for them to say what their current situation is and say how this is impacting their business and say why they actually need this right now and say why they're not going to let this go on for another 9 months. Like in that like dumb, like curious, childlike tonality, like those things are really important because once again, if you are problem aware, but the prospect is not, it's going to feel like, hey, yeah, this guy's just selling me what he sells everybody else. That's it. So make sure that you are doing discovery properly to make sure that the prospect is also verbalizing and understanding and aware of how much they need to get out of their current situation, essentially. The second big issue is just accountability fatigue, right? Because if you're not holding prospects accountable, if you're not challenging limiting beliefs, if you're not objection handling at the same level, you're gonna see a dip. And what happens is people can be in a role for a while. And like I talked about jadedness earlier, it's like, all right, well, I kind of know that this person versus the other guys I typically talk to, like this guy from cold traffic, typically only has like a 10% conversion rate. The people that I talk to from referral, they usually have closer to like a 50% conversion rate. So I'm just going to focus more so on the referrals because why would I focus on like 10%? But you start to realize you have enough calls, like that 10% that you're missing out on that just dropped to zero, that's going to be what's causing the numbers here. And then also, because it's emotionally draining getting on these calls, because I'm assuming you're still taking the calls, it's going to affect the good calls that you are having. So you have to make sure that you're just treating each and individual opportunity as, hey, clean slate. I'm just going to go in this call. I'm going to follow my process. I'm going to help this person. Because if you don't, your fatigue here, it's going to make you jaded about certain prospects. And once again, you're going to get to a point where you are emotionally drained. You're not holding these prospects accountable, right? Like you're not getting any urgency and opportunity costs. They're lying to you basically at the end of the call. They're inventing a business partner at the end. But you know what? You're a little bit tired. So you're not even calling it out. You're not challenging their limiting beliefs. You're just, okay, this person's destined for failure. Let me just let them rock and go on and keep failing. Like, no, that is not your job. Your job is to help that person. And you're not objection handling because you're like, I know that, when I do handle this objection anyways, like the partner objection, for example, usually just ends in a follow-up call. So why even try to handle it? Let's just set that follow-up call and get to where we're going. Wrong. Once again, like you need to get that person sold. You need to get that person into a mindset of taking action. And then that follow-up call will actually happen. And that person on the follow-up call is actually going to be your teammate. And it's going to be 2v1, you and the person you talk to instead of like, 1v2. And then you're dealing with yourself and two skeptical parties on that follow-up call, right? So you need to make sure that you're aware of both these things because once again, this was a study that was replicated across a bunch of sales teams and I don't know where it came from. But if you want to now understand that, like, how do I fix this? Like, it's pretty simple. These were almost always just awareness issues. So if you were aware that this was going on, if you were on the lookout for these two things, just you and the prospect both needing to be problem aware and you holding the prospect accountable at the same level you always were when you were getting up to that point where you were exceeding KPI. Great. Like that within itself usually fix it. As long as the rep is aware that these issues are holding them back, or yourself is aware that these issues are holding you back and you're committed to fixing the issues, that was all that was needed to return to top performance. Now, if you want to improve the process, in my opinion, one of the best things you can try to do if you are in a sales slump is just try to have like your pre-call process and third-party assets. So some sort of deck you put together or quick gamma doc or some sort of ROI calculator, do more of the heavy lifting. I found that really, really helps is when a sales guy's struggling and it's very much just like a 90%, they're just talking. There's no like screen share assets involved. If we can get that process before the call to address concerns a little tighter and have things they can bring up on the call, that does wonders. So here's how you do it. First off, just identify key concerns. Once again, this is a great use for AI. But if prospects have a concern that is hurting your sales process so much more than it ever has before, maybe things have changed, right? Like maybe the economy is worse. Maybe that competitor is eating your lunch, but nobody cares. Nobody's coming to save you, especially if you're running a business. So you have to save yourself. So how do we address these concerns, right? Preferably if it is something I can address before the call, great. Let me try to do that. If there's a way that I can address that in my VSL, in my pre-call process. If there's a, competitor analysis sheet I can send over and get somebody, to see that before the call. So it's just an easier conversation. Like I said, have the marketing, have the assets, have the pre-call process, do more of the heavy lifting for you. Because obviously, you're at a point where you need help, which happens to everybody. And when it comes to creating supporting assets, like if you can't address it before the call, create an asset that you can share on the call. So to give you guys a real life example of this, on our AI assisted agency client Ascension program, I just noticed some people were like very, very fringe fits for the program. Like they just kind of saw AI, they got excited, they booked in a call, but they don't really fit the mold of who we typically help. And can they be sold on like fitting into that mold and taking the route that we typically prescribe and then be a good fit? Yeah, absolutely. That's helped a bunch of times. But I noticed the reps were struggling in discovery with these guys because essentially like two sales processes. It's like selling them on starting an agency the way that we teach it and then selling them on our program specifically. So I literally just noticed this was a concern, and are you a fit for us? Like this is really dumb and really elementary, but this thing has been super helpful, right? So I literally just brought this up and I was like, guys, if it seems like discovery just is not going well and you cannot like figure out if we can help this person or not based on what they're looking for, like they're looking for some like AI chatbot that they can resell, which isn't what we sell. Just bring this document up. Say, hey man, sounds like you're looking to figure out if this is a fit. I want to help you figure out the same thing. So I actually just created this checklist after a couple of our calls because I got some feedback from the team. Here's who typically crushes it very early on, like closes clients in the first month of the program. So just bear with me for a second. I'm just going to run you through these real quick. And if somebody fits the mold of these things here, cool. This all will work out really, really, really well. Very simple, right? But it's just another asset that can take out the variance of when it's just like a talking back and forth thing, when we have a standardized asset that the whole team can use or that you can use in your calls. So whenever your opinion is validated by an asset, I feel like this is why it's helpful. For whatever reason, it just makes it harder to argue. Like if I was to say the average client sees these results, typically you can get more challenges than if you were to just present an ROI calculator and say, hey, we built this ROI calculator based on what the average client sees. Just by the third-party nature of that, hey, I'm bringing in this asset that was created for this purpose, people just almost never refute it. It's one of those weird things I've noticed. So that's another reason why I love assets. Now, gonna get you guys out of here. Remember, you are capable. Relax. Prioritize taking care of yourself, focus on those low-hanging fruit improvements, and build some momentum again. But here's the thing, even with this renewed energy, you need to zero in on the right numbers to keep growing and hit those revenue goals. So watch my next video here to uncover the key metrics that can guide you to a consistent 30K month plus and beyond. Links on the screen now. Let's keep crushing, guys. Peace.